But we begin at the nation's highest court. On the docket today, high-stakes arguments about whether states can ban transgender athletes from competing on girls' and women's sports teams. 27 states could be affected by what happens in that courtroom today. You may remember back in February, President Trump signed an executive order stripping federal funding from programs that allow transgender athletes to compete in girls' and women's sports teams. Right now, justices are hearing from lawyers in two cases involving restrictions from Idaho and West Virginia. Take a listen to what we just heard moments ago from Justice Sonia Sotomayor.
That makes no sense to me. All right. And I don't know how you can say sex classification is not being challenged. There's no question here that a male who identifies as a female, but it's a male, is being excluded from a female sport, correct?
That's correct.
All right. By its nature, that's a sex classification. And all sex classifications, we have said repeatedly in our case law, require intermediate scrutiny. Now, what you're saying is, well, she's not challenging a males generally not playing. She just doesn't want to be the one male excluded. So it's a subclass of people that she's challenging, correct?
Yes, I think that is correct.
All right.
All right, joining us now is CBS News legal contributor Jessica Levinson. Jessica, thank you for your time today. Jessica, what's likely to come up today is that 50-year-old law of Title IX, right? So can you walk us through what that law says?
Sure. So there's actually two cases that are being argued today. We're still on the first one. It's a big morning at the Supreme Court. One of the cases brings up the question of what's permissible under the 14th Amendment Equal Protection Clause. That's largely what we've heard this morning. The other case brings up both the Equal Protection Clause and the federal statute, that landmark statute from 1972 that you mentioned, Title IX, which essentially says if you're an educational program and you get federal funding, then you can't discriminate on the basis of sex, but it does allow for there to be women's sports and men's sports, girls' sports and boys' sports. So that's one of the questions before the court today is basically, one, what are these laws that say only biological women can participate in girls' and women's sports? Are they laws that classify on the basis of sex or laws that classify on the basis of transgender status? And are they permissible under our current legal standards?
Yeah, and I know it's really hard to predict, how the justices will decide. But as you listen to the audio inside that courtroom, what's your take on how justices seem to be leaning so far?
So first of all, thank you for giving me that big caveat, which is it's hard to predict. And I will say there's a lot of different issues going on that maybe go beyond just the big headline of 2 states ban transgender women from playing in women's sports teams. We're hearing a lot about whether or not this first case is actually moot because the challenger said, actually, I don't want to play women's sports anymore. So lots of questions about maybe, the reason I bring this up, maybe there's an off-ramp for the court and maybe they're not going to get to the big question. Then there are a lot of questions for the court. I know this is a little in the weeds about what this type of constitutional challenge looks like. Can you have one person, in this case it's one person, can you have one person saying this characterization doesn't, or this law doesn't fit well for me? All of this, of course, is to say, I don't think we're looking at the typical, what we think of in a hot button case like this, the typical 6-3. There's a lot of side issues. Is the case moot? What standard of review do we use? So it's a long way of saying I'm not committing right now.
All right, Jessica Levinson, I can completely understand why there is no need to commit at this moment. Thank you so much for your insight today.